I tend to hold on to things. So it's for me, it's more challenging to let go of things. Her abandoning the relationship at a time where I needed her the most, and then me allowing this person to come back into my life to then abandon me again. So abandonment, rejection. Um, I feel sorry for myself. I felt I was a victim of the situation. Um, I felt disempowered. I pretty much I was lost, you know. The pain I felt at that time in my life was pretty much inconsolable, you know, like I couldn't find anything to just make me feel better. Like sleepless nights, you know, entire days of just rumination and just going back and honestly just kind of like feeling guilt about what was my responsibility or how was I guilty for not holding this together, you know? Quite interesting that you mentioned the stairs because, you know, I'm gonna go like 8 years back.
Okay.
Before,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
when I broken up in other relationships that were meaningful to me, I relied on drugs, alcohol, partying, all kinds of bad habits and things that just pretty much um messed up my health, you know, and my own mental stability, you know. And in this interaction, third was like I had OCD with videos that could explain to me what had happened with this person. And I'm proud of the fact that I didn't resort to other methods that I resorted in the past to release that energy. Nonetheless, the constant looking for videos about narcissism and about codependency,
Uh-huh.
it got to a point where it was just obsessive, you know, and it wasn't helping. Because, okay, yeah, she's a narcissist or he's a narcissist or whatever, but at the end of the day, that really doesn't do anything for your grieving process.
You recognize that. You recognize that it was going to hold you back from your own healing by staying 100% focused on this other person and what she did that hurt you. That was just, and even if you could understand it logically, and it felt a little, it feels safe, right? It's like, oh, so she did this and that's why it felt like that. And it's all understanding up here, but it's not taking any action emotion to really get that inner healing
Yeah,
emotionally.
correct. Yeah, 100%. And I think that in the personal development world, there is a lack of people actually working with like the inner healing from grieving. And you can compile and put coaching and put all these things on top of each other. But if you had a very painful experience that is still lingering within you and you haven't been able to receive completion on it, like you're not going to be able to move forward in your personal healing journey unless you do grief recovery. Quite frankly, at least in my experience and with my own healing, try to imagine where would I be if I hadn't done grief recovery? Because I've been doing other healing work, but the grief recovery has been like a cornerstone of the foundation of this healing house that I built for myself where I can find comfort. Pain is it's a very like it's a very like mischievous thing. Like, you know, it can come in all shapes and form and it can actually hide, you know, like it can hide from you. Like you can think that the pain has gone away because oh, I met someone. And this happened to me, and I want to mention this that I met this other girl who I was talking to, and then very soon in the interaction, I realized this person is not the person that I want to be hanging out with. And then when I decided to cut off my interest in a more deeper connection with this person, I could feel like a secondary like sense of grief. The the tricky thing with like replacing the loss and that myth is that what if that thing that you're utilizing to replace the loss all of a sudden leaves your life and then you are suffering another loss on
Yeah.
top of the one that you had
Yeah.
experienced just before.
Yes.
Something grief, you know, it's even worse.
And the thing is that new relationship, which can be fun and exciting, and especially if we felt completely deflated or we're struggling with not feeling good enough because of a previous relationship. Well, this new person comes along and we feel more confident, or at least, it's not a real sense of confidence, but it's somebody who's giving us this attention, paying attention to us, and it's a nice distraction. Yet, if we haven't addressed the root cause, the emotional baggage that we brought into these relationships, like you said, it can just feel like a double whammy when that relationship turn. Whoa, wait, no, that's, even when you're making a healthy decision, it's like a double whammy because you're grieving that new relationship on top of the previous one.
Yeah. And also like seeing how it requires a level of commitment and of trust that you are taking the right steps. I'm so glad that I get to share my story with a lot of other people that are going to be watching this, because I feel like people my age, people in, contemporary to like the 30s, and, in that sort of like 28 to 35 to like, I think grief recovery is for everyone, but I think specifically that sort of like age bracket, like from what I've gathered from the people that I know, there's so many myths involved with grief, you know, and there's so much bypassing of the grief. Like, oh, I've cried my tears. I'm done with this. I can fully move on. And it's like, no, there is grief recovery for me has been like a CrossFit for my emotions,
Mhm.
and for my heart. It's emotional work that requires you to like sit down and look within yourself and not be afraid to what you're going to find, because you're going to find things about you while you're doing this work, and it's going to hurt. uh Pretty much in most of the exercises that I cried my eyes out, like it wasn't like I was just like, and obviously it's different for everyone, like some people cry, some people don't cry, but for me in the experience, it was so um comforting to like just be able to just let it all out in this space within myself, and showed me the patterns that I had with grief and how I chose to like experience grief in those moments, versus now I'm getting more of a sense of the tools that I can use to process the grief. There's no other way to put it. If you experience a breakup that was like, difficult and just very like mine was crazy. It was a crazy breakup. Like there's no other way. There you can't go above the emotions or below the emotions. You have to go through the emotions. And the only way that you can do that and make it sustainable is with the help from somebody that has the proper knowledge and knows how to guide you through it. Otherwise, you're just gonna walk around in circles for years. Let all the emotions out. It's okay. Express your emotions, just put it all out. And in my personal life and in my career, it's already helping me to better show up for people around me, because I'm more empathic to people's emotions. That's one thing. And also, I am healing so I can better show up for everyone around me. There's no hidden thing inside me that's gonna like all of a sudden somebody says something and it's gonna trigger something from my grief that hasn't been completed, and now I'm gonna blow up on somebody that has nothing to do with my own experience. So it's actually helping me to be more stable. That's one thing I'm gonna say. It's actually helping me to be more stable.
I love that. Thank you for sharing to work through. How are you feeling about continuing this journey?
I'm feeling super excited, and excited is an understatement. I'm feeling privileged to have um taken the step, at the time, and I'm gonna say this because I think people should realize this. At the time when I did the grief recovery, I didn't have the money to pay for it up front, because I wasn't working at the time. And a lot of that sort of like, well, maybe I don't have the money, or I'm gonna get the money from. I made it happen somehow for me. So I'm excited to be able to get an opportunity to continue to work on other losses that I experienced in my life, and to see how healing those relationships and completing them is going to allow me to even show up more powerfully with my work and the work that I came to do to this world. And I think it's gonna do the same for everyone that decides to take action and invest in their own healing. Well, I've seen that with my own experience because I've been doing both at the same time. I
Uh-huh,
hired a coach
uh-huh,
at the same time I've been doing the grief recovery.
uh-huh.
So I can see how one thing goes with the other because when you do personal development, they give you tools to like, for example, if you're scaling a business or if you're building something to like take the steps to do that and to grow. But if you have pain, that pain is going to hold you back from that growth. So unless you do the if you have suffered losses in your life that you haven't fully grieved yet or completed, that is gonna stop you from being able to achieve everything else. Or there's always gonna be something lingering in the background because you haven't fully processed that. And that is actually gonna like make up who you are in that moment. It's gonna change the way you see the world. Everyone in social media is gonna show what they want to show. You don't see the grind, you don't see the grinding that goes behind that machine, you know? And you could have a person that's super sad all the time and they show up on social media and they boast how wonderful their life is, you know? And they have thousands of followers and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh my god, this guy has the best life ever." But deep inside, they're grieving and they're sad for many different things that have happened in their lives. Yet they don't show that. You know, they show whatever they want to show. And now that I look back and I've gotten this opportunity to like glance back at my interaction with her, my interaction in past relationships, I can see how a lot of the things that happened in that relationship were things that I didn't grieve properly from other relationships. You
Mhm.
know, trust issues that came from improper grieving. Um, low self-esteem from not grieving and feeling like I was going to lose somebody that I love, you know, and all these different blogs that just happen when you experience loss, especially men. And I don't know what's your ratio of men to women in your programs, but I'm going to guess that it's more women than men. Hey, men out there, it's okay to cry. It's okay to experience emotions. It's okay to show up and just let it all out, you know. We've been burdened and just kind of like seen as weaker because we express emotions or because we cry or because oh you know like oh I break up with this girl, she's a I'm not gonna say the word. She's a this other
Mhm.
world. You know, I'm not gonna cry over her. I don't give a and
Mhm.
it's like it's the complete opposite, you know. The more you lean into those emotions and you actually experience those emotions, the greater of a man you're gonna become, you know, because of being able to experience these emotions, because you're gonna be able to understand your next partner's emotions better, your and whoever you interact with, your children if you have children in the relationship, your own family and other people that experience we're all bound to experience loss in this life. One thing you're going to get you should expect of life is to experience losses. You know that's
Yes,
the one. And if you have the proper tools to process those losses, then it's a win-win because you get to be a human, you
yes,
get to experience life, but you also get to like be in your emotions
mm,
and let them be your emotions and not try to analyze them. I feel complete and I feel that this is what's in my heart. And just again, I want to make a call out to men out there that are going to get this message. Connect with your emotions and don't bypass them, you know. If you're hurting from a relationship that disintegrated, and you had hopes and expectations. So just allow yourself to feel and to process, and you'll see that it's gonna pay off. I've sent this information to a couple different people. Certain people feel like they're ready for it, and other people don't. There's
yes,
people that are able to fully process a loss, you know, because maybe there's the structure of their family was more supportive and they were able to be more in tune with their emotions. Like everyone's family is different. But
absolutely.
for those of us that had had a lot of like traumatic experiences and you know, most people don't know how to grieve. So again, going back into the dating world question, this process has given me the tools to not just now jump into another relationship because I don't want to be alone, but to
Uh-huh.
actually give myself the time to heal from this relationship and to allow myself without benchmarks or without, oh no, by this date I have to be done with this grieving and I have to be moving on to somebody else. No, I am going to allow myself to heal at whatever pace I need to heal, so that when I meet a person that's going to be the person that I'm going to be with, I am in full integrity with myself and I am not bringing old baggage into a new situation, you know?